Well, good morning, good afternoon and good evening, everyone. I would like to introduce to you Cathie Bond from the Central Gippsland Health Service. She's been there for 7 years as an Education Support Officer and has 4 years Moodle experience. And this morning she's going to talk to us today about rolling enrolments. So everyone enjoy, and hand it over to you now, Cathie. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for coming to listen to this session. As Sue said, I've been playing with Moodle for about 4 years. We introduced Moodle at the health service here to start with our graduate nurse program. We've developed a lot since then. Central Gippsland Health Service is on the Victorian east coast of Australia. We're about 3 hours from Melbourne, and we have beautiful surrounds like the 90 Mile Beach. The health service itself comprises of 3 campuses, and we have aged care, acute, theatres, high and low care for aged care. We have about 1,000 staff, a little over 1,000, with clinical and non-clinical staff. So we have very different requirements for courses and competencies. We cover a wide range of topics in that. Just as we get moving on this, if you've got questions at any time, please use the chat, and I'll try and keep up with that as we go along and answer the questions. And there'll be more time for questions at the end of the session as well. In the health service, we have a number of requirements to meet our competencies for accreditation and for ongoing professional development for our staff. Some of these are just theoretical competencies, and some involve face-to-face practical sessions where skills have to be demonstrated. So for the practical competencies, we tend to record their attendance via an offline activity so that we've got a record of it. We use Moodle for the theoretical learning, and we use a range of tools within Moodle, but we rely heavily on the books, quiz and SCORM activities, and we use Storyline Articulate for our SCORM. We also use Moodle heavily for communication within the organisation. A lot of staff are not in the health service itself, they're out on the road and they need access to information and their competencies. So Moodle was a good fit for that because they can access it anywhere. So we use Moodle with forums as a communication pathway for all staff. On our Moodle, we run our graduate nurse program, a transition nurse program, postgraduate supported programs. We have our learning packages available for nursing professional development. All the competencies that staff need to meet each year or 2 years or 3 years are all available via Moodle. And as I said, the communication pathways. We also use links to other education from other providers. We haven't done it through an LTI external tool as yet, but we are using it via links and then having declarations on our system to know that the education's been completed. I'll just show you here on this slide what our courses tend to look like. Most of our courses are available that look like this. So we have 4 main steps. We've tried to keep it very simple, and a screen like this is basically all our staff will see. So they click on a book to read a book, and that contains the learning. The Test Your Knowledge is a quiz, and sometimes it's simply a one-question declaration that they've completed the learning. Then we have our feedback, and for our courses, feedback is what generates a completed status for our reporting, and then they can print a certificate if they wish. We try to keep it nice and simple for everyone. We have staff that have never turned a computer on, and we suddenly confront them with this information and they've got to sit down at a computer and they're very frightened of it. We have staff who combine that with not being able to speak much English, so we need to sit with them and work through the competencies. And we've got a whole range of people. We've got nurses here who've been here for 40 years. You confront them with a computer and they get very, very worried about what they might have to do. we run monthly education for all our users so that they can come and sit in our computer lab and have some support to use Moodle if they need to. It's been picking up with the uptake of that education. So let me set the scene up. We just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Rolling enrolment to me and to this organisation means that we have the same users that need to complete the same course every year. So we have competencies that will be called the same thing year in, year out, but things might change along the way. We cannot afford to lose the results, but I don't want to be sitting at the computer enrolling 1,000+ staff into a course every year. And when we've got 20 odd competencies that they need to complete every cycle, I certainly don't want to spend my time doing that. So I needed to find a way to make this work. When I initially asked our host Moodle partner, Pukunui, how this could be done, they told me it couldn't be done. I don't accept that it can't be done. There has to be a way. So I played and played and played, and I've come up with this solution which works for us as an organisation. We can't afford to lose the information. We need to be able to check back and see what people were trained in. So if there's an incident, we can see what learning they had done and what education they'd been provided and how competent they were at any given time. So although it's the same course, the learning might be updated, the quiz might be updated, the feedback won't be, it will stay the same, it'll be the same questions. We needed to be able to facilitate the changes but still keep our reporting simple. Wait for this next slide to come up. So this is what our courses look like. From here down, the users don't see. The users see this top section. Obviously there's a heading telling them what the competency is. So all they'll do is they'll click on a book and they'll read it. They'll do a quiz, they'll do their feedback. What makes this work is really simple. We've provided all the activities and resources in section 2, and then we orphan those activities off, and we provide links from the activities back to the pictures. So when they click on the picture, they get a link to the book, straight into that book. So I can update the book with a new book. I can update the quiz with a new quiz, but they won't see any of this down here. They simply see the same pictures all the time. They're not confronted with a list of activities. They're not confronted with different icons, or when we upgrade Moodle, different looks. They're always going to see the same thing. Feedback, as I said, completes them, and our reporting is based on that. So every year, or 2 years, or 3 years, depending on the cycle for the particular competency or course, all I do is I go and add a new topic into that course. I don't add a new course. And then all I have to do is update the learning and the quiz. I duplicate the activities and update them, and then I update the links back to those pictures at the front. So we update the books and update the quizzes and the feedback. So it looks exactly the same. But I haven't lost any of the information because they're all in orphaned activities. So we can go back and check at any time. What I've added to this, and this was a suggestion by Julian, we've added an enrolment method called cohort sync. So I have all different cohorts. I'm hoping you can't hear that overhead announcement just going off. Sorry about that. I have cohorts set up for registered nurses, enrolled nurses, non-clinical staff. I have them divided by ward. So when I want to enrol people into a new course, all I've got to do is enrol them into the cohort. So as new staff are registered for Moodle, we enrol them into the cohort, and then they're instantly enrolled into the courses they need to do. I don't know how much you know about Moodle, but to enrol a cohort, you go through into the enrolment methods here, and that provides you with access to a cohort sync method. So So when you click on the enrolment methods, this is the screen that you get, and you enable this cohort sync here. And then that will ask you to choose which cohort you want to enroll. So if I'm enrolling registered nurses into a medication competency, all I've got to do is choose the registered nurse cohort, and all of them will be enrolled into that course instantly. Makes it nice and simple for the communication pathways as well, because I can enroll large bunches of people in one go into different areas. So the learning might change, our quizzes might change, but the feedback questions don't change. Our feedback is our constant. So that's where we get our reporting from. We've had some customised reporting made for us by Pukunui, and it's all based on the feedback submitted, and that will supply a course completed date. Works quite well. We've got a couple of little hiccups that we need to sort out where we might have duplicate feedback. So we'll have a feedback for a practical and a theoretical. At the moment, we only report on one of them. That's just an extension of our reporting that will need to be facilitated. Like everything, there is good and there is bad about this. It's just one way to do this that I've found that works for our organisation. There's probably other ways. Some of the things you need to keep in mind is that the cohort must be correct if you're using that method. And if you're moving someone from a cohort, so if they move from one location to another, then you need to add them to the second one before you take them out of the first, or potentially you can lose their completion data, and they won't be very happy if they've got to complete all the competencies again. We also never delete anybody from Moodle at this point. We just suspend their account. We seem to have staff who come and go, and then they'll come back again, and they don't want to sit down and complete 20 odd competencies when they come back to employment 6 months after they've left us. The issue that we have with this system is that it does rely on feedback being submitted by the users, and we have spent a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I mean a lot, to reinforce this with staff. I get some phone calls now asking me, I've done all my competencies, why isn't this showing me as complete? And it will invariably be because they haven't completed their feedback. And that's probably the downside for us. It might be that you can use this and it's just the quizzes that you need to report on, and that would make it much simpler if you don't have to update them. The nice simple method, it always looks the same to users. They're not confronted by any changes when they come in. Every course that they come in to do is easy, and they find it quite easy to navigate now. So that's basically all I can tell you about how we do this. I'd love you to have some discussion about this, and if you've got other ideas or things that will work better,